والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل يا رب العالمين. So Alhamdulillah, we've finished, or we've come to an end, or almost the end of the chapter on Zakat of livestock. Now we have one more sub-chapter, and that is the chapter of joint ownership. قال المصنف رحمه الله ابن قنابة المقدسي, the author رحمه الله, he starts off by saying, وإن اختلط جماعة في نصاب من السائمة حولا كاملا وكان مرعاهم وفحلهم ومبيتهم ومحلبهم ومشربهم واحدا فحكم زكاتهم حكم زكاة واحد. وإذا أخرج الفرض من مال أحدهم رجع على خلطائه بحصصهم منه. The author رحمه الله, ولا تؤثر الخلطة في غير السائمة. So the author رحمه الله, now he talks about joint ownership. And what is meant by joint ownership is, for example, if one person has a certain amount of cattle or a certain amount of livestock. For example, I have 20 livestock, and another brother has, I have 20 sheep, and another brother has 20 sheep. Right? We know that the nisab for sheep is, you have to have 40 sheep, right? Now, if I had 20, and I go and graze my 20 on my own, then there is no zakah for that. However, if me and another brother, we put 20 and 20 together, and then we hire one ra'i, one shepherd, or one of us takes them out and grazes them, and we do this together, right? So both flocks are together all the time; they're mixed. Then as the author rahimahullah says, that the money would, the mal, the wealth would be counted as one, meaning that it would have reached the nisab of 40, and there would be one camel, or one sheep would be the wajib for that zakat. Now the author rahimahullah, he mentions a few conditions for this to happen. So he says that if a group of people share in joint ownership the same nisab or zakat threshold of the free-grazing domesticated livestock for an entire haul, an entire period, then and their fields for pasture, the stud animals, the barns, the milking sheds, and the water holes are the same, then the ruling of the zakat is as if it is one person. So these conditions must be fulfilled. Number one is that the two flocks should be grazing for the entire year together. So for example, if I say that I'm grazing my sheep every day by myself, and then at the end of the year, I decide to go on vacation, and I give it to my friend. I say, look, take my flock and graze it with your flock, right? And then the time for zakat comes, and the person, for the collector of zakat, he goes and he sees that this person has 40 sheep, right? Does he have to take one sheep from him? No, because it did not graze for the entire year. It must be grazing with each other for the entire year. So they must be grazing for the entire year. They must graze at the same field or the same pasture. So for example, if we hired, me and a friend, if we hired one shepherd, and the same shepherd were grazing both flocks at different fields, then that would not count, and there would be no zakat. Also, their stud animals must be the same, so they must share. The stud animals must share between the flocks. And sometimes they will separate out the stud animals for each flock, right? One flock will have its own stud, etc. Their barns must be the same. So where they're resting at the night, their barns must be the same. Their milking shed, so where they're milking, where we go to milk them, must be the same. And the place where they get water from, they're fed to give water from, must be the same. So if all of these things are the same, then the ruling would be as if it is zakah from one person, and we would take the necessary amount, combining all of that together. However, if one of these are different, so if, for example, we separate the flocks out and we milk one here separately and we milk the other flock separately, or their barns where they sleep at night are different places, or the fields for pasture are different, then there would be you would not put them together and count them as one type of the zakah would, as if it's one person. It would be separate. And then he says, rahimahullah, إذا أخرج الفرض من مال أحدهم رجع على خلطته بحصصهم منه. Now, for example, if me and a friend, we have 20 sheep each, and we put them together and we're grazing them out throughout the year, and the time for zakat comes and we need to pay one sheep. So whose sheep do we take from? Right? I have 20, he has 20. So he says that one of us has to give up the sheep, right? And whomever gives the sheep up, the other partner should pay. He should pay or reimburse him according to his share of the flock. So if it's 50%, then we give one sheep, and then the other person who's the partner with me would reimburse me for half of the sheep. So he would give me cash for half of the sheep, and he would reimburse me because I paid with my sheep for the zakat, for example. And then the author, rahimahullah, he ends off by saying, وَلَا تُؤَثِّرُ الْخِلْطَةُ فِي غَيْرِ السَّائِمَةِ. He says that joint property has no effect except on free-grazing domesticated stock, domesticated livestock. So this concept of putting together the money and considering it as one person and the zakat being calculated is only for livestock. It does not occur in a normal partnership, in a normal corporation, or a normal partnership in business. So for example, if me and a friend, if we put together some money and we say, look, we're going to buy items from China and we're going to sell them. We're going to bring them here and sell them, right? A regular business. We put in 50-50. Now, what the author is saying here is that if we look at the money together, even if it is higher than the nisab, we don't look at it together. Rather, we look at our individual ownership in that. So the joint property will not have an effect on the zakat, and it only applies to livestock. Meaning that in every other type of normal business, you look at your percentage, and if your percentage, and you calculate all of your wealth, and you calculate your percentage as well from the business, and then you look if you need to pay zakat or not. You don't calculate the entire partnership with you and the other partnerships or the other shareholders to see if you require zakat. So, for example, you invest in a company on stock market, right? You're an investor in that company, right? That does not mean that of course it's going to be millions of dollars, which is the investment, right? And it passes the nisab for sure. So you don't look at the entire company and you have to pay zakat based on that. Rather, you look at your share. You may own a few shares, and then if you require, after you calculate all your other wealth, to pay zakat, then you pay zakat. If not, then you do not have to pay zakat. And we'll end off here, inshallah. Tomorrow we'll talk about the chapter of zakah of that which comes out of the earth. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه